Hi, everyone. This is Emerence Lee, San Mateo City Councilwoman. And I'm really glad that you're here and you're part of a bigger team of parent volunteers that we're amassing. And it means a lot to have grassroots support for this effort. My introduction to this issue really started when I was talking to local business owners in the city of San Mateo, and one of our business owners has kids in the school district, and it was really interesting. The number one issue that he was concerned about was, and he was very open and shared with me, is that his 11-year-old son became addicted to vaping products, and vaping, and it was it was shocking for me to hear. It was shocking for him to experience that and have his own, his child at 11 years old go through addiction treatment, and so. This is a serious issue in our community that's affecting our children, and it's also a national level issue. And we know that 480 deaths occur annually in the United States due to tobacco use, and it as a baseline sort of comparison, we have 274 COVID deaths to date. So every single year, 400, almost 500,000 people are dying from tobacco use. And when kids are, are becoming addicted at such a young age, where typically that leads to a lifelong addiction. And one of the reasons that we felt like the city needed to act was because this is an unregulated product on the market, and when kids are taking smoking one Juul pod, that's the equivalent to a full pack of cigarettes, and lots of people don't even know that. They think they're just puffing something that tastes like gum, bubble gum. And so during COVID, it became very clear that we needed to act with the utmost urgency. And even the chairman of the subcommittee on economic and consumer policy said that one of the recent studies that came out really proved our worst fears, and called for the FDA to clear the entire market. And our former mayor and state senator, Jerry Hill, really led the charge at the state level in passing SB 793, and our city followed. And so we're seeing both the state and our local leaders act with the utmost sense of urgency to remove these products from the market. And so what all of us will, what we will be doing, the next step is supporting the outreach and education to our retailers to remove these products from the market and out of the hands of our young people. And so this is part of a broader coalition, not just of parents, but also our own San Mateo mom and Dr. Bonnie Halpern Flesher, and the PTA Council and the Bay Area Community Health Advisory Council, and then of course the county, which has been incredibly supportive. So you're part of a very broad-based coalition, and we can't do this work without you. So thank you so much. Oh, and I should mention the Chamber's support as well, the Chamber of Commerce. So thank you, and let's get into it.
Great, thank you so much. My name is Mayra Diaz. I am a public health educator with the Tobacco Prevention Program in San Mateo County. And so what our program does, it provides support to cities who have existing tobacco-free and smoke-free ordinances. And so what we do is we provide education to residents. And so what I'll be doing today is presenting information that will support you during your outreach to retailers. And so what I'll be doing is sharing a PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to go through a couple of slides, and at the end we'll also have opportunity for more questions. But if you do have questions as I go through the slides, feel free to ask the question. I know that there's some features on Zoom, but I welcome you to just unmute yourself and ask the question. I think that that'll be easier for me as I'm presenting. And also we are recording the presentation so that we make it available for others to be able to view. And hopefully that'll be okay with you all. And give me just one quick second as I share the screen. Okay, everyone sees the presentation? Perfect. Great. Okay. Great. And so in today's presentation, we will go over the San Mateo City's ordinance. I will briefly explain well, not briefly, but I will go over what are the prohibited products under the ordinance. I will also spend some time talking about ordinances for other jurisdictions within the San Mateo County. And I will spend some time talking about how to communicate with retailers. And I will present to you some of the frequently asked questions, and we'll go over answers for those. On October 5th, the City of San Mateo adopted an ordinance prohibiting the sale or distribution of flavored tobacco products, including menthol and electronic cigarettes, vaping products. The ordinance also prohibits the sale of all tobacco products in pharmacies. And so in order for the sale of tobacco products in the city, retailers must have a local license in addition to the required state license and abide by these provisions. And if an owner or an employee of the tobacco retailer violates any of these provisions or any city, federal, or state tobacco related laws, the retailer is required to report the violation to the police department and to the environmental health division. So we'll go over what are the prohibited products. And we'll start with flavored tobacco products. So under the ordinance, flavored tobacco products will be prohibited. And this include flavored little cigars, such as Swisher Sweets, as well as flavored large cigars, flavored snus, snuff and chewing tobacco, blunts, cigar wraps, menthol cigarettes, and hookah shisha. And so on this slide, you see images for some of these products. Flavored tobacco also includes e-juices, including Juul's mint and menthol flavors. And it also covers other e-cigarette brands such as Vuse and Blue. And again, these are some images for some of these products. In addition, the ordinance also prohibits electronic cigarettes. On this slide, you see some examples for e-cigarettes and vape pens. As you can see, some of these products can look like a regular cigarette in terms of the size, the shape. There's vape pens that use batteries, products that are rechargeable. E-cigarettes also include mods and pot-based. And on this slide, you see a little more information under each product. And on this slide, you see other examples for more electronic cigarettes. As we've been seeing, some of these products are as small as a USB equipment. There are other cities in San Mateo County that have adopted similar ordinances. On this slide, in the blue box, we see a list of other cities with a tobacco retail ordinance. In yellow, you see the types of components a tobacco retail policy may include. So for example, East Palo Alto and Menlo Park include the components of a required local tobacco retail license. It includes the provision of flavored tobacco and a provision on e-cigarettes. So that's 1, 2, 3. In another example, at the bottom, the city of Brisbane includes provisions that is number 1 for the tobacco retail license, and number 5, which is provision of free samples.
What are San Mateo's provisions? All 6?
San Mateo's provision does not include language on delivery or free samples.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question too. So if the city's not on here, then they don't have any of these provisions currently, like San Bruno or Millbrae.
Correct.
Okay.
And so as you can see, some of these ordinances have more provisions. It depends on whether the city saw a need to include that provision. And so how do we communicate with retailers? I spend some of my time answering our smoke-free hotline, where we receive calls from retail store owners and employees. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about how do we communicate with them. And so best practices. As you're making the call, or if you choose to do the in-person visit, introduce yourself. And I invite you to mention your relationship to the city of San Mateo. So for example, if you are a resident, if you are a person that teaches students in San Mateo, so just give a little bit more of what is your investment in the city. Explain that on October 5th of this year, the city of San Mateo adopted an ordinance prohibiting the sale or distribution of flavored tobacco products and electronic cigarettes, and that you are calling them or visiting them to support their education and compliance with the local ban. It's been my experience that retail store owners support these policies that protect the health, especially the health of youth. And it's also been my experience that when I speak to them, they do want to be heard. They do want to talk to you about how this policy will impact their business. They will also want to talk to you about, what this means to them personally.
Can you repeat that again? When you're explaining why you're there, can you I like the wording. I just wanted to get that down.
Yeah. And so explain that on October 5th, the city of San Mateo adopted an ordinance prohibiting the sale or distribution of flavored tobacco products and electronic cigarettes. And you are calling them to support their education and compliance with the local ban.
And we could probably draft a script and that can be part of the follow-up with the assigned businesses.
That would
Yes.
be great.
Yes, and I'll also follow up with some links to other questions that retail stores may ask. But again, this is the most frequently asked questions that I have received on our smoke-free hotline. And I will also talk about our contact information. So if retail store owners have more questions that you may not be able to answer, but also they may have questions in the future, you can refer them to us. And so as you're speaking to them, I want to just emphasize again that, you know, they'll probably want to be heard. So it might require a couple of minutes of your time listening to them. So listening to them more than you responding, than you sharing your opinion. I invite you to show empathy in your words. So using phrases like, I understand this is a tough time. Also, it sounds like you are in a tough place. So showing empathy as you're responding to their sharing. And if the conversation at any point becomes uncomfortable or threatening, we do encourage you to end the call as quickly as possible. And if you're doing this in person, to leave the store as soon as possible.
Yeah, so this is the part that actually I am the most worried about, because people and businesses are really suffering right now, and mental health is a big issue. And, you know, I'm worried about our safety. Like, I know we're going to do a phone call, and like, I don't want my phone number to be, you know, read by the business owner. And also when we go in person to deliver a letter, I'm just worried about our safety. So what can we do about that?
Yes, I understand. And so one suggestion is to use *67. And so that would block your phone number. And so that's what our program does as well. So we use *67. We are working from home, so it works. And another is we stick to the facts. They have received letters from the county. They will receive more information from the city. And so what you're doing is giving the same information that has been provided to them. And so again, what you're doing there is to support them in their compliance. So sticking to the facts about the ordinance, you can keep your own opinion to a minimum. I think that could work in helping again with you listening to them. You know, like you said, it must be a very frustrating time for some of them, a scary time for some of them. And so we want to use words that will express that, you know, we're listening. I hear you, like this is a tough time, you know, but I'm providing you the information because this will help you to stay in compliance. So if at any point the conversation becomes threatening, it becomes just unsafe for you, I would just encourage you to, you know, just say, you know, thank you and end the call as quickly as possible. I have not experienced any retail store owner or employee that calls our hotline and is in any way disrespectful. But again, what they are looking for is just some of my time for me to listen, because I may be the only person that they're talking to about this situation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and so we're to this point where I want to go over a couple of the frequently asked questions. And so this part should be, for the most part, easy, and you will probably know the answer based on the last couple of slides that we went over. So when I ask the question, I invite you to unmute yourself and give the answer. One of the questions is, when will the ordinance go into effect?
The ordinance goes into effect on January 1st, 2021.
Yes. Another question that they frequently ask is, what products can they sell now? Well, they can sell tobacco only products. It's only the flavored tobacco that has been banned. So what other products can they sell? They can sell tobacco only products. They can sell tobacco products that are labeled unflavored, unsweetened. They can sell tobacco products that have been manufactured without additives and flavors. They can also continue to sell accessories such as matches, lighters, ashtrays, paper wrappers. So the product that has been banned are the flavor products. Another question that I'm asked is, what can they do with the rest of their inventory? Although this might be like a tricky question to ask, for one, because I have no experience in selling tobacco products. I have no experience in what it's like to manage a tobacco retail business. But the answer that we give them is they can contact their vendor and determine which tobacco products are without flavor. So one is for them to be informed of what tobacco products do not have flavor. We would also say that they can stop ordering and restocking flavored tobacco products. We will also say that they can replace flavored tobacco products with tobacco products without any flavors. And of course, they can secure and dispose of any remaining or unsold flavored tobacco products before January 1st. And so, as you probably heard, I continue to repeat, you can continue to sell unflavored. So repeating, you probably have many products that are unflavored.
Maida, can I just make a comment?
Yes.
And since this ordinance also prohibits electronic cigarettes, that includes flavored and unflavored, right? For those.
Yes. Thank you, Myra.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, because the ordinance does prohibit the sales of electronic cigarettes may come, for example, in packages with flavor products, but even alone, electronic cigarettes are prohibited. Another question that I'm asked is, what other cities are prohibited from selling these products? And two other cities that prohibit both the sale of flavored tobacco and e-cigarettes include East Palo Alto and Menlo Park. But as you saw from a previous slide, there's more cities that have ordinances that are have provisions that can prohibit either flavored tobacco and or e-cigarettes, as well as other provisions. So saying the city of San Mateo is not alone in these efforts. And another question that I'm asked is, what about flavored cannabis? How would you answer this question? E-cigarettes and flavored tobacco ordinances apply to tobacco retailers. Tobacco retailers should not be selling cannabis, since cannabis retail shops are required to be separate from tobacco and alcohol retailers. And so hopefully you will not see any cannabis products at the retail stores, at the tobacco retail stores. And so you can limit your answer to that, that the e-cigarette and flavored tobacco ordinances are written for tobacco retailers.
Myra, I'm so sorry, but I have to go meet with a student. Can I leave you my email for follow-up in the chat, or would you
Yes,
like me to email you?
feel free to email me,
Okay,
mgdiaz@smcgov.org.
okay, I'll do that. Thank you
Thank you,
so
Mara.
much.
Yeah.
Bye.
And if they do have more questions, you can give our contact information and reference on our letter. I'm going to stop sharing this presentation, and I am going to show you the letter that I'm referring to. On October 15, we did mail these letters to all tobacco retail stores in the city, where we were informing them of the adopted ordinance. We provided a little information about what are the provisions on the ordinance, as well as highlighting the enforcement date. On this letter, we also offer our contact information and provided a website where they can gather more information. So if they do have more questions, you can let them know that they can contact the San Mateo County Tobacco Prevention Program.
Myra, how many vendors have contacted you so far after this letter was sent out?
Only three so far.
And that's out of how many in the city?
Councilwoman Lee, I cannot remember the total.
I don't have the exact number at the top of my head, but there are about 25 total businesses that we are deeming as high priority, where the bulk of their business is, is around selling tobacco.
So I noticed that this talks about no tobacco sold in pharmacies, and we have like some big chain pharmacies, Rite Aid, Walgreens, CVS. I'm assuming those are not included in this list because they're much larger and maybe already aren't selling tobacco products. I'm just curious.
I think there are a number of pharmacies that have already they've opted to take tobacco off their shelf, or flavored tobacco off of their shelves. But yeah, they will be included in the list as well, but probably in the second tier of outreach. I think the way that this will be structured in terms of how each volunteer will be distributed and assign just a handful of businesses. We're trying to get through that 25 first.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So this is the end of the presentation. Any other questions?
I had a question about the difference between retail in person and retail online, and how the ordinance applies.
Yes. So I understand that with this ordinance, the sales of tobacco within city limits are prohibited. However, the ordinance does not include a provision, for example, for delivery. So if a resident purchased tobacco products online and had it delivered to their address in San Mateo, that would not be prohibited.
Okay. Thank you.
Myra, do you have any other information?
No, I think you answered that that well. I just was looking at the Burlingame ordinance because they do have language that prohibits delivery. And I think just like you said, it basically restricts the sale, the delivery. So it says basically that you cannot, the sale or offer for sale within the city of Burlingame, including a sale transacted remotely with delivery to an address within Burlingame, is prohibited. So I'm not sure exactly how that works. If basically like an app or a website just wouldn't allow the delivery to go through, but that's how it's written in Burlingame.
And I did have a question from a retail store owner a couple of weeks ago, and they asked, what about, can they continue to sell tobacco products internationally? And so that's something that it's not within the city's jurisdiction. And so again, what the ordinance focuses on is the sale or distribution within the city. And so that could be a person, and that could also be a retail store.
Okay. Thank you. This was very comprehensive. I don't have any other questions.
Great. And if you do have any more questions, feel free to contact our program, San Mateo County Tobacco Prevention Program, tobaccoprevention@smcgov.org.
Thank you. Okay, so next steps will be we follow up with a script and some assignments to the volunteers, and we'll move through it. I think it takes the pressure off that we know that there's a hotline to call and an email address, so we don't have to have all the answers. And you all are there to assist with some of some of the harder questions.
Yes, we're here to assist. And I can also provide a copy of the letter that we mailed to the retail store owners for people to use as reference.
Yes, that would be great to include in the packet. Noelle, are there any other things you can think of that would be helpful?
Just a copy of these slides and the letter, and then the script. Oh, sorry. And the frequently asked questions, if you have the answers, because I know you have the questions on the slides, and I know you talked about the answers, but if you had that written down, that would be helpful too.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, well, everyone should have everything they need in hand to make this happen, and we can, we can go from there. So thank you so much, and
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Myra.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a good day.
have a great day. Bye.